All right, let's talk about sacrifices because some of you see a sacrifice in a Gotham chess video and suddenly think, yeah, bro, I can do that too. No, you can't. Stop throwing your pieces like you're donating to charity. Today, we're learning when you should sacrifice, when you should absolutely not, and how to stop pretending you're Mikhail Tal every time your bishop can sacrifice itself. Grab your emotional support knight, take a deep breath, and let's save your rating. So, the first reason you can sacrifice for is when you steal stuff. This is the trust me, bro, it's all part of the plan. Sometimes you sack a piece, but 3 moves later, you're like, wait, I get the piece back? And their entire position collapses? Wonderful. Add to cart. This works when you win the piece back with interest, you get extra material, their structure collapses, their king suddenly remembers it has trauma, but you must calculate, not pray, not manifest, not, it worked last time when I played my 7-year-old cousin. Calculate like your rating depends on it, because it does. Hey, look at this position for a second. Can you spot the sacrifice that actually makes progress? Yeah, that's right. Knight takes the pawn. Why? Because after that, you're basically collecting pawns like it's Black Friday. You take his pawn, you get your knight back, you weaken his whole structure, and if you're under 1,000 elo, Black might even donate his rook out of pure fear and confusion. Like, bro sees a knight in his territory and suddenly forgets how chess works. Either way, you get your material back with interest, and Black's position looks like it came from Wish. Another reason to sacrifice is when you smell checkmate. This one is simple. If you see a forced mate, sacrifice everything. Queen? Throw it at him. Rook? Gone? Your dignity? Optional. Because checkmate ends the game. Doesn't matter if you're down 19 points of material. If the enemy king is about to be folded like a cheap tent, send the troops. Your pieces stop being pieces, they become guided missiles. This one is hard, but you also sacrifice when you see an attack. This is the tall section. If your attack is already cooking, your pieces are active, their king is sweating harder than you during a puzzle rush, then sacrificing might be the correct move. The logic is if you can keep pressure for 7 to 10 moves, your opponent will blunder. Defending is hard. Attacking is fun. One side is playing chess, the other side is praying to every deity available. A good attack sacrifice opens the king, forces defensive moves, gains tempo, makes your opponent hate the game. If your attack has momentum, you're not sacrificing, you're speedrunning their king's destruction. And of course, you sacrifice to make your position better. This is the positional sacrifice. Also known as, I swear I'm not crazy, this is actually good. Sometimes you sacrifice a piece and everything becomes better. Your pieces activate. Your pawns become dangerous. Their position becomes a jail cell. The rook you gave up wasn't doing anything anyway except eating snacks on a 1. These sacrifices improve activity, structure, long-term pressure, pawn promotion chances, piece coordination, and, of course, the positional exchange sacrifice. Trading a rook for a knight or bishop because your minor piece is about to become a demonic entity from another dimension. Their rook becomes a useless decoration. Your knight becomes a war criminal. This is peak chess. All right, listen carefully, because this is the part 90% of you need more than the when to sacrifice section. Because let's be honest, most of you don't sacrifice, you donate. So here are the real moments when you should not, under any circumstances, sacrifice a piece. No matter how loud the little Mikhail Tal in your brain is screaming, do it. Rule number 1, when you have no follow-up, if you sacrifice and your next move is, rook somewhere, congratulations. You just blundered. A sacrifice needs a threat, a check, a forced idea, something that makes your opponent panic. If you sacrifice and suddenly the board goes quiet like a library, that's not a sacrifice. That's a suicide note for your position. If your attack ends after 1 move, don't sack. If your attack ends before you even sack, really don't sack. Because if you do, you will be down material, emotionally, and spiritually. Rule number 2. When your pieces are still at home. This one is important. Do not sacrifice if your pieces are still asleep. If both your rooks are still chilling on the first rank watching Netflix, your bishop hasn't moved since the Industrial Revolution, and your knight is still having coffee on G1, you are not ready to sacrifice. You cannot launch an attack with one bishop, half a knight, and a queen that's scared of open files. That's not an attack. That's a solo mission. Respect my beloved RuneScape YouTuber, but you need backup. You need reinforcements. You need at least some pieces active before you start throwing them off the board like confetti. If your army isn't mobilized, no sacrifice is allowed. Rule number 3. When it helps your opponent more than you. This is a classic beginner tragedy. You sacrifice, and your opponent's position becomes better. You open a file for their rook. You activate their bishop. You free their pieces. You solve their cramped position. Like, bro, you're playing chess, not being his chiropractor. Stop fixing his problems. If your sacrifice opens lines for them, activates their pieces, gives their king more safety, solves their structural issues, that's not a sacrifice. It's customer support. Your opponent should not say thank you after your move. If they do, you messed up. Rule number 4. When your calculation is basically guesswork. If your calculation process is, okay, I sack this, and then, I hope something happens, stop, put the piece down. Drink water, reevaluate your life choices. Sacrifices require actual calculation, actual forcing lines, actual logic, not manifesting mate through positive thinking. If you're not sure, don't sack. If it feels like gambling, don't sack. If it feels like I saw this in a Magnus clip once, definitely don't sack. Your rating is not a casino. All right, nerds, that wraps up today's video. Before you go, just a quick reminder. I upload every single week, so if you want consistent, clear chess improvement, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. Today, you learned when to sacrifice and when not to, and if you apply this, your games will immediately feel more stable, more controlled, and way less random. And next week, we're moving on to the English opening, a flexible, strategic system that every serious player should understand. If you've ever wanted to add a solid modern opening to your repertoire, that video will help you a lot. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, keep improving, and I'll see you in the next one.